Welcome to the 19th Biannual MEANZ 2018 International Model Engineering Convention, held at the Nelson Society of Modellers in Nelson, New Zealand. Nelson, the South Island's oldest city, located at the top of the island, is nestled below the beautiful Marlborough Sounds, boasting a population of 50,000 people. The city is renowned for its wonderful beaches, thriving arts and crafts scene, tourist life and proximity to stunning natural landscapes. Held in the Tahuna Nui Park, the Cinders 2018 convention was a popular event among the local community. The MEANZ conventions are held every second year, in January, alternating between the North and South Islands. The club began in 1958 as a way for model enthusiasts in the area to combine varied interests in the hobby. These interests ranged from construction and operation of steam locomotives, traction engines, model boats and much more. Facilities at the Nelson Society of Modellers include a ground level track, raised multi-gauge track, O, HO and N gauge model railway layout, and a 2-acre model boat pond. The ground level track features only 7¼ inch gauge that circumnavigates 920 metres of the Tahuna Nui beach area. The raised track features multiple gauges including 7¼ 6¼ 5, 3½ and 2½ inch gauges as the 524 metre long journey rides past the club rooms, steaming area and Modeller's Pond. The O, HO and N gauge model railway layouts are located in the club rooms along with numerous static models and engines running on compressed air for display. And finally, the Modeller's Pond is 2 acres or 8,000 square metres in size, intended for model boats and the club's Navy Lark paddle steamer, offering rides to the public.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
The first official MEANZ Model Engineering Convention was held right here in Nelson back in 1981, for Fun in the Sun 81. Ever since then, the biannual event has found its way around much of New Zealand, alternating between the North and South Island every second year. The Havelock North-based Kairunga Park Railway also held their Steam in the Hills 1994 convention not long after the track was completed. The Hamilton Model Engineering Society hosted the 2004 convention, named Steam and Steel. Fast forward to a lot more recent times with many others in between, the Tauranga Model Marine and Engineering Society was the last to host the convention in 2016. And looking to the present, Steam and Cinders 2018, hosted by the Nelson Society of Modelers, saw over 172 registrations, 305 attendees, and 91 locomotives or traction engines registered, making it a busy weekend but with plenty to see. This convention was a big hit amongst the New Zealand model engineering community. In fact, the Nelson Society of Modelers has been the only New Zealand club to host the convention 4 times during 1981, 1992, 2010 and now 2018. The Nelson Society of Modelers raised level track was the first addition to the club's land beside the Modelers Pond. It soon developed into a popular attraction alongside the Tahunanui Beach and became one of New Zealand's best multi-gauge racetracks. Departing the Sun City station, the track leads to a tunnel and heads back past the station out towards the back end of the track. The trains fire up the over 180 grade and cross the overbridge above the track, which loops back downhill alongside the pond and back to the station. On occasion, the section of the race track nearest to the pond will flood during high tide, causing the track to be unrunnable for up to an hour at times. However, for the convention, permission was obtained by the club to sandbag and block off the causeway to keep the tide at bay during the day. And the plan succeeded, holding off the water and keeping the trains running. This is the only track in New Zealand to feature such a unique aspect of the running. Over 38 locomotives out of the total 75 registered were 5-inch gauge or less, meaning they had to run on the raised level track. Only 2 2.5-inch locos were registered, 1 steam and 1 non-steam. 7 3.5-inch locomotives were registered, and all of them were steam engines. The most prominently used gauge was the 5-inch gauge, with 29 locomotives registered in total, 21 of them steam engines and 8 non-steam. Reese Cobb, a member of the Nelson Society of Modelers, was the owner of the only 2.5-inch steam engine, AB number 831.
So my name's Reese Cobb from the Nelson Society of Modelers. I have been in this club for 14 years, possibly more. Started out just as a visitor to the club. Used to come down with my father and spent every weekend here. I used to just ride on only the steam engines as I had a particular interest in steam. Came down one Saturday and I was just having a look, and there happened to be a steam engine on the track. And the driver looked at me and he asked me if I wanted to drive. And so I cautiously agreed and went round the track for the first time ever. And I've never forgotten that, and I had a buzz for about a month after that. And that's what hooked me. My main interest is steam, regardless of what it is. A particular fascination with locomotives and traction engines, and I haven't built any as yet, but I do intend to. At this stage I'm just tinkering with rebuilding and refurbishing locomotives. So I have 5 locomotives with me currently. I have a 5-inch B1, which is a Springbok turned into a tank locomotive. I have a wee B-Jacks, a 3.5-inch Maisie Atlantic, which I imported from the UK, and this 2.5-inch AB, which I recently acquired from Mr. Ken McIntyre's estate. It came up for sale, and with a particular fascination for the smaller engines, I decided to purchase it. And I've been very pleased that I have done since that. And I mean, none of my family have been interested in it, so I was sort of all just by myself, get out there and meet people and get into the hobby. I think the Nelson Convention has been so far a success. The weather hasn't played ball when we want it to, but I definitely think it's one of the better ones in the country with our location, facilities, and I think Nigel and Tracy have done a wonderful job on organising and running this convention just about alone. So for anyone that knows Ken McIntyre, he was an interesting man. This is one of his examples of an NZR AB. He brought the chassis from a man down in Timaru who had cancer, and he wanted to get it finished for him in time for him to see it running. And throughout that process, Ken likes to write things down. So I've got a folder about that thick, full of notes, how many hours he spent on each item, how much it costs to produce. So it worked out he spent $1,500 on materials on the locomotive, $500 on the tender, with a total of 2,200 hours to build. And this particular locomotive has working air compressor to operate the air brakes on the locomotive. Has 2 axle pumps, generator, and it's also got a combustion chamber as per Ali Wood's drawings. It's a great runner. Try not to wear it out too quick, but no, I'm very happy with it, and it's great to have it out and be able to show it off on his behalf.
The 7¼ gauge ground level track was a much more recent addition to the Nelson Club, with construction commencing in 2003. "920 metres of track follows the perimeter of the lake, starting at the lakeside station. Passengers board here and first drive past the steam up and marshalling area, which was a very busy site during the convention. After following alongside the racetrack, trains follow the gentle curves alongside the Modeller's Pond, heading towards the back loop of the track. Passing over the sand flats and a toot and whistle to the public. The 1 in 70 gradient climbs towards the over and under balloon loop. And down through the Gibbs cutting. Out of the tunnel and back alongside the lake, bringing passengers back to the lakeside station. The ground level track hosted the largest amount of locomotives over the convention, with a total of 37 7¼ locos out of the 75 total registered. There was also a wider variety of locos to see, with 23 of them being steam engines like Dave Watt's award-winning NZR WF 871. The other 14 registered engines were non-steam, like Tony Brown's 2 award-winning diesel-electric DE locomotives that ran in tandem over the weekend. One of the most unique engines running at the Steam and Cinders 2018 convention was the ex-Tom Miller Denver Rio Grande K36 number 482, now owned by Ian Welsh. This impressive 282 locomotive was run for all 5 days of the convention and pushed the limits of engineering on the 7 1/4 inch gauge.
My name is Mike Massey, and I'm from Tehachapi, California, home of the famous Tehachapi Loop. And this is my second trip to New Zealand. I first came here for the convention in 2012, and I'm back now for the 2018 convention. I first got in the hobby about 2005. Back in about 2001, I went to Wales and I ran a full-size 040 locomotive on the Festiniog Railway. And I liked it so much that I wanted to own my own engine. So I remembered seeing these little steam engines in a park near where I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so I went there in 2005 to the Golden Gate Live Steamers, and I said, yep, this is what I want to do. So from then on, my father and I built one engine together, an Allen Models Chloe, which is an 042 plantation engine. And then we went on to purchase a used large-scale 040, a Meg Steam Wendy, and we tore that down and rebuilt it. And that's what my primary runner is now. It's 3-inch scale, so it's exactly 1/4 full size, or in 7.5-inch gauge, it's 30-inch gauge. This convention has been fantastic. It's probably my favorite convention style meet that I've ever been to. I love the people here, and the model engineering is just fantastic, very high level of quality all around. And it's really nice to see a lot of small scales. You don't really see that much in the States. There's maybe 2 clubs on the West Coast that still have small scales, and this place still does it in a really big way. This afternoon I ran a 2.5-inch gauge engine, and it was an absolute treat. It was a really big delight to be able to do that. I'd say the biggest difference between American tracks and New Zealand tracks is that in New Zealand you guys all use bar stock for rail with steel ties, and usually running in a concrete channel in a lot of clubs. Not this one though. Whereas in America we have easier access to domestic manufacturing, so we can get scale profile rail really cheap. So we tend to use steel and aluminum profile rail on wood and recycled plastic ties. And so the track itself, the infrastructure, is one of the biggest differences. The other big difference is there's a lot more hauling of public during meets, whereas when we have meets a couple times a year, we generally don't haul public during the meets. We just kind of run for fun. So that's kind of different, but it's really fun because then everybody gets to go out and pick up passengers. And I noticed the club also provides coal for everybody, and because they're providing a service by pulling public. So that's kind of a neat thing that used to be more of the norm, but not so much recently. Back when in the very beginnings of live steam in North America, there was a track in Danvers, Massachusetts. That was run by Lester Friend of the Friend Box Company, and he had this elevated track, and he would send out a little flyer and says, "Bring your engine, coal will be provided," and people would show up, and it was, for judging by the photos, it was a lot of fun. This was in the 1930s and the 1940s. So a lot of this is kind of a throwback to how live steam used to be in America, and it's very different now. There's no small scales, and it's just a little bit different. There's a lot more steam here too. We have a larger quotient of diesels and electrics these days. Well, I think I'll definitely be back in the future for another convention. I've greatly enjoyed myself once again, and I look forward to coming back here in the future.
The official convention opening took place at 1 p.m. Thursday afternoon, with all trains on the raised and ground level tracks taking place in the Grand Parade once the event was opened by President Nigel Gibbs at the steaming bays. Often referred to as the dark side of model engineering by the comedic folks of the hobby, traction engines were another big hit of the Steam and Cinders convention. It was great to see an often overlooked or underrated aspect of the New Zealand model engineering be such a prominent aspect of the convention. 16 traction engines and road vehicles registered for the convention. 15 of them were scaled-down model-size engines like Greg Burrows' G&J Burrows Foden steam truck.
These two structures here are supposed to bolt together, but the pitch circles are the holes we get into.
But the traction engines did more than just haul passengers around. Some of them even powered a sawmill and a carousel, capable of carrying 4 children at a time. The one other registered traction engine was the full-size Foden steam truck, owned by Alan Familton. The 1925 C-Type Foden number 11680 is a 3-way tipper originally purchased new by Mr McLashan of Masterton, New Zealand. It was used for general cartage around the district, including telegraph poles, road metal and more for the local council. Originally an oil burner, it now burns coal to a maximum operating pressure of 220 psi, capable of producing up to 43 HP. Written off in 1942, it went to George Giltrap of Rotorua in 1958, and further to Brisbane, where he moved his museum to the Gold Coast in roughly 1960. After work from various owners, it was eventually purchased by Mr Alan Familton in 2013, from the previous owner's dispersal sale. It was steamed in the very next day in Sunnybank, Brisbane, to determine its condition. The potential for a beautiful machine was seen by Familton, and thus it has been brought to an astounding running condition today, with work still ongoing. The steam truck ventured from the Tahunanui Park, looping around the nearby access roads. It was a jaw-dropping sight for enthusiasts and public alike. .11 a.m. on Sunday the 7th of January brought about the Traction Engine Grand Parade. Every traction engine joined the lineup, with nearly all of them being in steam.
Why don't you make them on the train? And then we'll wait.
Yeah, we only had about 7. Right.
No, I thought they had about 10, I think, or 11, I think.
Oh, yeah, because they had that really.
After a photographer's stop for a plentiful crowd, one by one the engines looped around the traction engine area before heading off around the rest of the park. Didn't stop there. Some traction engines having the correct road certifications were able to travel down the road to the local McDonald's. A 2-minute drive by car or 10-minute drive via traction engine. Race carbon passengers are seen here passing through the drive-through and celebrating on their way back to the track, Maccas in hand, leaving curious looks on the faces of the local public. The Nelson Society of Modelers is the only model engineering club in New Zealand to feature such a large pond dedicated to model boats. The 2-acre pond was originally fed from the local fresh water supply, but is now fed by seawater at high tide, which serves as plenty to keep it full, often enough to fill it above the concrete walkway. This is the same issue that caused the raised track to be flooded, as mentioned before. The pond gained its fair share of attention from the local community and the nation's media in the months leading to the convention. The pond has suffered from an extensive build-up of weed and sludge for years, making it a much less attractive option to run boats in it, let alone have as the proud centrepiece of the track. A price of over $1 million had been set up by the local council to fix this, with the Nelson Club asked to split up half of that cost. However, a temporary fix was set into action for the convention, with diggers arriving to clear sludge and maintenance work done on the control gate just weeks before the convention. It was a huge effort, and a great step by the local council and members of the club to return the pond to a much more beautiful state. A number of model boats were on display during the convention, from the Emirates Team New Zealand, America's Cup Catamaran to the jet boat. Rhys Cobb also ran his Anchor Steam shipping company, TSS Rata Steamboat, on Sunday morning. This model was built roughly 30 years ago, originally powered by a 1975 Ford Capri window wiper motor. After it recently came up for sale, Rhys purchased it and began the modification work to turn it into a steam-operated boat. He began building the steam boiler from scratch, added a water tank, engine mountings and more. Forward, neutral and reverse is controlled by an RC Nitro car gearbox with a 1:1 ratio. The main engine unit is a 2-cylinder piston valve engine kit from the UK, running at an operating pressure of 25 psi, with the safeties lifting at 45. This proved as an impressive sight to see and looked beautiful with the other boats nearby and the trains passing by in the background.
I'm Nigel Gibbs, President of the Nelson Society of Modellers.
And I'm Tracy Gibbs, and I'm the current Treasurer and also the convener for Steam and Cinders 18.
Well, we got involved with the hobby just before we were married.
It was?
Yep, which is 20 years ago. One of our friends through theatre suggested we came down and joined because talking during theatre and said, oh, we're interested in trains.
Yep.
And there's no trains in Nelson, and they said, oh, what about the model club in Tahuna? And I've lived in Nelson all my life and didn't know there was one. So we came down and had a look around and thought, oh yeah, we'll join up to this. And a year later we were on the committee and been there ever since.
So I've lived in Nelson since early teenage, and I remember my great aunt bringing me down to the track, and always loved coming down here and riding on the trains. So it was great to come back actually and be an active part of the club. I suppose 2014.
Yeah, it was probably even before that, wasn't it, that we showed an interest in holding another one.
That's right.
Straight after our 2010 convention, I guess, we went to our members and said, asked whether there was interest in holding another convention at some time. And then I went to the Christchurch convention and put our name forward as holding the 2018 convention, and that was accepted. And so basically from that point we started making arrangements and thinking about how we would hold another one, looking at what infrastructure we had to improve, and then we went to the Tauranga convention 2 years ago, had a look at their convention and got a lot of feedback from attendees as to how to improve our one, and also got the feedback that there was going to be a lot of people coming, which put a little bit of pressure on. That
Certainly did.
made it so we put some pressure on ourselves, I guess.
And so basically when we got back from Tauranga, we started putting the ideas in place and actually started the organisation of it. So I was, we had meetings and sort of worked out what we were needed to get, like the marquee and fencing and all that, and we really started from then, contacting all the firms and going from there. It's been a long 2 years, but there's been a lot of work going by a lot of our members to make this the success that's turned out to be. We've had over 300 attendees at this convention, and just having everyone here, and they've all had such a good time, and that's just made everything so worthwhile, and it's been great fun.
We've been extremely lucky with the weather. We were very, very dry right up until the first day of the convention. The first evening of the convention we had up to 50 to 60 millimetres of rain overnight. That wet everything down, lessened the fire risk for us, and that took some of the stress off as well. So that was really great, and we've actually had a shower or two every night, but beautiful days, so it's been great.
The feedback has been great that we've had from everyone, but we're really lucky with the people who have come forward. And it's like with the traction engines, we changed where they were from our 2010 convention. We wanted to bring them in closer to everyone else, and so we put them on the playing fields, and from all accounts they have loved being where they were because they've been able to run around and they've been able to give rides to public and feel more a part of the convention.
Still not 100%, but
no,
it's something that if we do it again we can work on.
That's right, but it was certainly a huge improvement from 2010, and I know everyone just seems to have had lots of fun and just great feedback, and the friendships that we've made at other conventions, or people have visited and we've gone and visited other clubs, and to have it all solidified and just cemented, it's just been wonderful. And so we've had people from Australia and the States and the UK, and that's just been fantastic, plus everyone that's come from all over the country. So very, very happy.
Thursday night saw the first of the Steam and Cinders night events specifically for attendees. The Norm Speeding Shunting Challenge was organised by Michael Gibbs and set up as a challenge that anyone could attempt either solo or in groups. 8 wagons were randomly spread among the 3 sidings of the lakeside station, each colour-coded. The aim of the challenge was to shunt these carriages into a specific order, but with some extra catches. The person coupling the train could not drag any carriages, meaning the locomotive had to go right up to the carriages to couple with the hook-style couplers, and no more than 3 carriages and no less than 1 could be hooked at any one time. The team or person to complete their shunting in the fastest time with the least amount of penalties was crowded the Shunting Challenge winner. The teams assembled and thought of their master plan to try and shunt the fastest. DSA 234 was oiled and fueled up for each team to fittingly use for shunting. First up was Ian Murray driving and Daniel Kerr in charge of points and coupling. The duo were going well for the first attempt, but fell apart slowly with more penalties and more overall errors.
What colour's next? Red! Red's in the right place!
They finished with a final time of 10 minutes and 43 seconds, setting the time to beat for the next team. Next up was Logan Crook as driver and Sean Heenan as shunter. The next 2 challenges were Nelson Society of Modelers' own president Nigel Gibbs as driver and Nelson member Colin Batt as shunter. This matchup was one of calm and experienced shunting, but this didn't lead to 0 accidents.
mean, you do it from a second, but it's not going to stop. Oh, Nelson,
Colin would later receive a Crunchy Award for the only broken coupler during the event. The team ended up finishing their shunting in over 12 minutes, confidently sitting them in last position.
Now this doing it smooth and like...
Now we're stuck, though.
Oh, no, you'll be fine.
Sean and Logan decided to take another stab at the challenge to see if they could beat their previous time, but this time with a role reversal. The attempt was looking like a promising attempt, despite the incredible amounts of wheel spin caused by a slight uphill gradient and wet track. The pair were unable to beat their previous time at just over 7 minutes, but still had secured a position in first place. The crowd was still in hysterics from Ian Murray's previous attempt at shunting, so Jonathan Gruber decided to step up as driver, and Ian had to go as shunt manager. Jonathan had a firm grip on driving, with very little rough hits or wheel slip. Ian, however, was the laughing stock of the crowd as he did his best, with the odd mistake in between.
That was coupled. These called his couplings. It's not the couplers.
The pair's attempt was still not in vain, finishing with a total time of 10 minutes and 35 seconds. As the sun continued to fall, the most unique team to compete stepped forward, consisting of Amy Kerr as driver and Hayley Gibbs, Claudia Rose and Olivia Daniel. The team had a strong advantage over the other teams in terms of numbers, but this didn't necessarily lead to a faster time.
Pressure is on, it's counting. Can you feel it?
5, 4.
Due to a previously smashed coupling, being one short, they found themselves needing a way to still connect to the loco. Attempting to do so, the front hood of the DSA 234 was accidentally pulled off, adding to time spent fixing it. The rain began to set in and darkness arrived when the last Challengers team of Max Donnelly as driver and Ollie Duncan as shunter stepped forward to try their best. With the added disadvantage of more rain and less natural light, the team still pulled off a calm and collected attempt. With no errors and a well-executed plan, they finished with a time of around 15 minutes. The shunting challenge proved to be a truly unique convention event, one that puts drivers to the test, and one that provided some great entertainment for spectators. The Les Moore Challenge has become a staple of every Meehan's model engineering convention, and it was another big part of the Steam and Cinders 2018 convention. The challenge originally started at the Palmerston North Model Engineering Club, during their 2002 Modex convention, with the task being to build a steam traction engine with the kit provided. This was later established as the Lesmore Challenge at the Hamilton Model Engineering Society Steam and Steel 2004 convention after the untimely passing of Lesmore himself. The trophy for this challenge was donated by the Moore family. Steam and Steel 2004's challenge was to build a steam crane with the gear provided, and other conventions have seen challenges involving Coke bottles, fire engines and much more. The Lesmore Challenge has not only become a common theme at each convention since, but has promoted many innovative projects by individuals or clubs. The challenge for Steam and Cinders 2018 was one that took good advantage of Nelson's unique Modeller's Pond. The challenge was to design and build a putt-putt steamboat with the materials on offer by the Nelson Society of Modelers at the convention. Each participant had 900mm of a 3/16 copper tube, one small tuna-sized tin, two choices of assorted large tins with lids, one hexamethylene tetramine fuel cell, half a tube of Minutemen multi-purpose epoxy putty, assorted ballast blocks, and an all-important lighter. Under strict guidelines, participants worked over the first 2 days of the convention to build their boat, ready for the showdown on Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Judging was based on the design, finish and fastest boat to travel at a set distance once lit. A large crowd had gathered for the event, with the weather kindly playing ball. Each participant set alight their fire and off they went. Or at least some of them did. Mark Duncan was unfortunately disqualified after his boat was assisted by the local pond eel. Some saw success, but some also saw failure, although it soon became clear who the winner of the challenge was, with Russell Prout from the Tauranga Model Marine and Engineering Club that saw the most success with his putt-putt boat. Max Donnelly also won Best Junior Entry, along with the Crunchy Award for the first Titanic, being the first boat to sink. Richard Donovan won Best Overseas Entry, and Paulette Morton took home the Best First Effort Award. Saturday night on the 6th of January brought about the official public night run for the Steam and Cinders 2018 convention. The Nelson Society of Modelers had previously held night runs and seen numbers into the thousands of the local community joining in. However, as the daytime running came to a close, the rain began to set in, and the people retreated to the shelters of their homes. The decision was made to cancel the night run, but anyone who did show up would be given a free ride, with donations being kindly accepted. Numbers were low, but the odd passenger did show up, and a decent number of locomotives still ran both on the ground and raised tracks. However, this didn't stop members running on the other nights of the convention either, specifically Ian Welch's K36 number 482. From the night it arrived on Wednesday all the way to Sunday night, you could expect to see it running around the track until well after sunset. On Friday night, a load test was performed for the K36, with 13 fully loaded wagons, including the ex-Tom Miller rolling stock, being pulled around with ease, even at the reduced operating pressure of 100 psi.
Cameraman.
No, don't stop now.
He's got an inch down.
Oh, hi.
And the fireworks from the funnel disrupted the pitch black night, putting on a spectacular show. Russell Prout's diesel hydraulic locomotive also pulled a similar train of 13 fully loaded wagons around the track with absolute ease, hardly breaking a sweat. Sunday night was host to the Steam and Cinders 2018 official convention dinner. The votes were counted that afternoon and awards prepared for the nominees of awards like Best Steam Locomotive and more. The marquee was fully booked, with not a spare seat left, and the crowd was ready for a fun night. The following awards are in order as they were presented.
The first registration, New Zealand, goes to Grant and Donna Alexander. And the first registration for overseas goes to Barry Glover.
So we've got the category 1 for up to 7 years old, and we've got this 3 prizes for this category. So first prize goes to Lily Watchhorn. And second prize goes to Lila Watchhorn. Third prize is Natalie Watchhorn. Now we had no entries in that category 2, which was 8 to 13 years old. So we'll move straight on to category 3, which is 14 to 17 years old. And the winner was Grey Stuff. Category 4 was 18 years upwards, and the winner is Sean Heenan. Apparently Sean was by default because no one else did one. So the winners for the Norman Spedding Shunting Award goes to Sean Heenan and Logan Crook. Okay, so for this part of the shunting challenge, we had a couple of crunchies. My apologies, I'm doing this from memory because I've lost my piece of paper amongst all my pieces of paper. So, first off, Colin Batch. So, those who weren't there, Colin and Nigel teamed up and started off quite steadily and slow, starting getting a bit frantic towards the end, and Colin decided to shunt the wagon so hard that one of the coupling totally was annihilated. The second Crunchy Award goes to actually one of our catering staff, Liv. So 4 girls teamed up and did the shunting challenge, and Liv decided to pull our DSA apart. And it was because of Colin, because we lost one of the couplings. So she had to be the coupling, and yes, the rest is history. Right, that's it as far as I'm aware.
So next up we have the Nelson Society of Modellers People Choice Awards, and Hayley's going to tell you about those.
The Chattanooga Choo Choo won the People's Choice Award from the public. The Chattanooga Choo Choo is the stationary, I don't know what type of train it is. Phantom, there we go. And it's inside the club rooms. So now we have the winner of the Lesmore Challenge, which was Russell Prout from Tauranga.
I may be drunk with the brake on the brake.
Right, so as part of the Lesmore Challenge, we actually had 3 other components. So we've got some more awards to give out for the Lesmore Challenge, and that was for the best junior entry, and that goes to Max Donnelly.
You get the broken vice too.
We also had the best overseas entry, and that goes to Richard Donovan. And then we've got the best first effort, so first model engineering effort, and that goes to Paulette Morton. So for those of you who don't know, the prizes are actually the actual tools that were used in the construction of all of the putt-putt boats. And so as well as the formal awards, we also had a couple of crunchies associated with the Lesmore. So we had the first Titanic, and that was Max Donnelly. And then we had one boat that was assisted by our friendly resident eel in the pond. So boats were starting to get going, and one was taking off quite nicely, and we looked down and there was an eel helping it along its way. And that was Mark Duncan's. So now we've got an award that one of our members wanted to do to encourage the young people to actually get involved with model engineering. Because if we don't do that, well, it's going to be a lot of us old ones, and we need the young ones to come through. So it's one of our members who has been here from a young age and is still young, has wanted to do a Young Enthusiast Award. So, and this, would you like to announce who that is, Reese? Come in and, so this is Reese Cobb, with our lovely mascot, Bailey.
Oliver Duncan.
So we'll start off with the Australian Model Engineering. So David, if you would like to come up and present your award. and this is for the best first effort.
There was an interesting variety of models to choose from this time. The final decision was to award the prize to a 5-inch gauge AB belonging to Miles Maloney. You get a prize, you get a 12-month subscription to a very reputable magazine.
For the MBM Model Engineering, and we twisted his arm because I wanted a separate award for these small locos. So we've got the most popular 2.5 or 3.5 loco, most popular 5-inch, and the most popular 7.25. So I'll hand over.
Okay, most popular award, that's Dave Campbell with his little Garrett. Okay, most popular 5-inch, Miles. Uh, 7.25, Dave Watt with his Cinders at RWF.
That's all the Nelson people voted for since they used to run here.
Next we have another award that I was very lucky to get Higgins Park Steam Museum to sponsor. So it's the most popular road vehicle, and that is awarded to Greg Burrows for his photo.
Make me cry. I've got my tissues in my purse.
Well, yeah.
Now with having the modeller's pond, we're trying to get it going, and eventually we got there, we thought, well, let's do a most popular model marine. So we as a family, with Hayley leading the way, have improvised, we've got this award going. So Hayley has made the trophy that is going to the winner who can keep it. And so the winner of the most popular model marine is Reese Cobb for his steamboat.
Just before we start, I really would like to thank Tracy and Nigel and the team for the fantastic job they've done here getting this convention together. It is a huge job, and we really deserve it. Thanks Nigel and Tracy and the team, because it's not 2 people, it's probably about 40 people. The Phantom Award is for the best new Phantom. Well, it was quite easy to pick this time because there was only one entry. So we're calling up John Lawson for the Phantom. I'm not sure what number it is, maybe you can tell me, John. Do you know what number it is?
58.
Okay, and I've got number 100 at work now. And you get your name engraved on it and get a small cut. And, thank you very much, John.
Alright, now if we can have Hayden to come up please and present his 2 awards. So he's doing the Best Steam Loco Award and also the Best Road Vehicle.
So I'm very happy in that regard to offer this award, and I'd like to award it to David Watt, the New Zealand Railways WF locomotive. This loco I did travel behind. Jim Woods was the driver in charge, and I thought not just mechanically but it was presented well. The back head was exceptional. It ran very smoothly, very efficient. And I think it's down to David's fine engineering skills, and as he said previously, many years of work. So I congratulate David on that. So he has a token. He has a token bag of coal. He'll receive a 25 kilo fuel of his choice, and also a bottle of Hallett 680 compounded oil. So that's the prize. Thank you. So on that note, I'd like to offer this Best Road Vehicle Award. And again, I did travel on this vehicle today. I looked at the vehicle and from my point of view, the authenticity of it seemed to fit what I would call the English type of standard, and I liked the presentation, the mechanical work that had been done on it, and so I'd like to offer this award to Greg Burrows again for his steam wagon.
Don't cry, Greg.
This is the Goff Cup, I guess, from the Goff group of companies, the heavy machinery importers, etc. So I guess on behalf of them, I present to you this cup.
Thank you very much.
Again, Greg gets some oil and a bag of his favourite fuel.
Now we have the Canterbury Award, and this year we asked Richard Donovan and Barry Glover to judge this for us. Unfortunately, Barry has already left us, but they both have entrusted me with who has won that award for this year. Now, Richard, would you like to come up and present this? I've really put you on the spot because I have not talked to you beforehand.
It's very easy to have a nice, pretty engine with cowcatchers and polished domes and things, but as Henry Ford found, if you paint everything black, it makes life a lot easier. So we were looking a little bit more than the colour scheme, and I think there's a certain amount of personal preference that always goes into these sort of judgments as well. But I'm afraid it ended up with Dave Watts again with the WF. Well, while I'm up at this end, as you know, they rather inappropriately gave me a bag of tools to take back on the aeroplane, and I don't really want to pay excess baggage on those. I also feel that my coracle didn't really merit an award, as it very nearly sank anyway and it put the fire out. So I think it would be better that the tools went to somebody who could possibly use them better than me. And I'd like to give them to the gentleman who ran the Young Enthusiast Awards. So if Oliver Duncan would like to have the tools instead, he would be very welcome to them.
So now we have the Colin Burley Best Non-Steam Local Award, and Tony, would you like to come up? This was sponsored by Tony's Automotive and Engineering, who are based in Greymouth. We're very grateful.
Anyway, this award, better get that sorted. For the Best Non-Steam Logo, Tony Brown, NZR, DEVs.
Right, so now we have the Freeman Roofing Best Paint Award. So Robin, would you like to come up and present this award, please? We're very lucky to have Freeman Roofing. They've been the sponsor of our club for many, many years, and we are very grateful for their ongoing support that we have.
I asked 3 people from work who come down for train rides to come back and tell us what was the best paint job. They all came back with the same one. And it goes to Graham Head.
The the Squirrel Valley Railway Best Electric Award. So this is sponsored by Grant. I can't remember whether you wanted to come up or not. Oh, Donna, lovely. Thank you, Donna. And the trophy Grant has made, so we're very grateful for that, for this award too. So. Alright, so the Best Electric is awarded to Graham Chisnell for his E1 class.
Give her a kiss.
Now we have the Richmond Exhaustion Radiator Specialist, the Best Diesel Award. So I'd like to ask Reese to come up on behalf of his boss, who twisted his arm. Not very hard, because they're another good supporter too.
Cool, this is a tricky one because the one I've chosen hasn't actually been out yet. But I believe it's going to be run tomorrow, and that is Tony Winter with his DFT. Technically it's electric, but it's a diesel model. So.
Well, there's not much more I can say. It will be out tomorrow, so we'll give it a run. Thanks.
Seems we might have missed giving out a couple of items here, but I think I've done all my list, apart from the Crunchy Awards. So the first one I've got is for Ben Sewell. Apparently you've run over one of our oil cans. No.
Yes. I was witness to that.
I'm not quite sure why that was.
That's right.
I have it on good authority.
Yeah, the double crunchy. You've delighted.
Congratulations. The next Crunchy Award goes to our very own Colin Batt. Now, I'm not too sure of quite the details, but from what I gather, you were jumping off your loco.
Off Ben's loco. I hopped off and my foot sort of...
the mic.
I hopped off Ben's loco and my foot hit his controller and it fell on the ground and went fat stick, bashed into the next loco. So it's like, whoa. We all had fun anyway.
Philip Drummond. So, Philip has the great distinction of our first derailment. And also the great distinction of putting our wonderful fire crew to the test with our own one and only fire.
Nailed it, right?
Absolutely. Gotta keep him happy. Next Crunchy Award goes to Bill Krippner. Now apparently, I don't know how Nolan and Heather are feeling, but I hear that you seized up poor Butch and caused a bit of chaos on the main line. So, any further words?
Always. Bits left on the track, wipes out drain cocks, jams drain cocks, hydraulics locomotive, stops dead. We got stuck in the middle of nowhere. We didn't know if we were coming or going.
The next Crunchy Award goes to Dave Campbell. And I'm going to have to leave this for him to explain because all I've got in my notes is Garrett broke.
Yeah, I probably deserve this because the thing did let me down twice. It's never really let me down before. And yeah, I accept it.
Now our last award goes to Gerardus. Now, it was really interesting. I've had a number of people come up to me and say, look, he's had a Crunchy Award at, every convention. Has he got one this time? And I'm going, no. But, lo and behold, a little birdie came and saw me today and told me of an incident. Now, it was off-site, but I think, well, considering they're from Australia, well, they're over the ditch anyway, so, off-site's fine. So apparently there was a bit of an accident and a glass tabletop has been totally destroyed and he had a smashing time last night. Speech.
Don't believe it. I was determined this time to come to the convention and not lose anything. Wangare, lost my car keys, filled my hire car. And I said, next convention, I'm not going to claim anything I lose. At Christchurch, I lost my bloody name tag. So this time I said, yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Proctor. I'm sure it was you. Wait until we get home, boy.
Thank you for that, and I'm glad about your speech mentioning name tags because it reminded me of something. Final one, my own husband, our president of our club, also lost his name tag. So I think that definitely deserves a couple of crunchies.
Yeah, apparently it was found this morning down by the tunnel where I rolled up the hoses 3 or 4 nights ago after our first day running. Down there in the rain, rolling it up, and I got back to the caravan and, oh, I haven't got my name tag. Oh, well, it'll be somewhere around the site. Anyway, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming, and it's great to see everyone here and all enjoying themselves. I hope you've all had a great time. That's what we aim to try and achieve. So, and I think from the comments we've had, we've actually managed to achieve that. So, yep, great to have you all here. And I'd like to thank all our sponsors. And I'd also like to make a special thanks to my parents who are looking after my farm while I'm here. So, yep, thank you everyone.
The 2018 Mean's International Model Engineering Convention was one of the best yet and received many positive reviews from modelers not only nationwide but internationally as well. The Nelson Society of Modelers put on a brilliant show and set the bar high for future conventions. A big thank you must be extended on behalf of the attendees not only to the club but to the Gibbs family and all other major organisers in this convention for their fantastic efforts and positive attitudes towards giving everyone a fun experience. The next Mean's International Model Engineering Convention is in 2020 at the Hamilton Model Engineering Society in Hamilton, New Zealand. A big thank you to everyone who has joined this journey of Steam and Cinders 2018. We hope that you have enjoyed watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time in 2020 in Hamilton.